Thank you for being here on time. I know this is Thanksgiving holidays, so I really appreciate you being here. That's your demonstration, your commitment to learning. So I really appreciate it. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Wenxian Zhang. I'm working at the Rollins College for last 28 years. By the way, anybody know Chinese? Anybody know? No Chinese? Okay, give you Chinese 101. Okay, I came to the United States in 1988 for my graduate study. After I graduated, start working. When I came to the United States, I had to reverse my last name with first name because East Asians, they always put their last name first. Family heritage is very, very important. So always start with your last name. And as you know, some of you know, Chinese is a pictographic-based language, based on drawing, based on pictures. So you can imagine this is actually a bow, shooting arrows, archer. But when Chinese writing with a brush, it's not very easy to make a curve. So they're writing like this, okay? So you can imagine this is a bow, this is an arrow, this person standing up with the legs open up. So this word means, as a verb means open up. As a noun means a long bow. So this word is the bow, this is the long. So long bow. That's my last name. It's supposed to have a 5,000 years history, guys. The first person to carry this family name is supposed to be the fifth son of Yellow Emperor, the ancestor of all the Chinese people. Another fun fact, 85 million people with the same last name. Easily top three most popular name in the world, not only in China, in the world. The first one, by the way, is Wang, more than 100 million. The second one is Li. Third one is Zhang. So that's my family name. So I have a warrior's blood in me. Better pay attention. Otherwise, I'm going to shoot the arrow at you. So Wenxian means document literature. So this, you can imagine the person's head here. This is the desk, sitting by the desk, doing the literary work. So this person's cross-legged, sitting by the desk. So Wenxian is my first name. So that's the name given to me when I was born. So people always tell me I'm destined to become a librarian. So I'm a librarian by training. I'm working at Rollins College, Olin Library for the last 28 years. So that's me. I've been working here, but a native Chinese. Actually, let me show you a short article I wrote. I was invited by Florida Forum to write an article about my personal experience. So I wrote this piece 12 years ago, this 2011 article, Florida Humanities Council. So this is the article on bridging cultures. You guys can guess who's me in this picture. Baby? Yeah. That's me. I'm sitting in my grandpa's grandma. She was illiterate, by the way. She cannot read, illiterate. She also had bound feet. My mother was a school teacher. When the People's Republic of China was founded, She was 14 years old. She was born 1935. She wanted to study. She wanted to learn. So at 14 years old, she enrolled in the first grade. She wanted to educate herself, change her life. So she became the tallest person in her school. Went through elementary school, high school, and then normal school education, so become school teacher. My father, officer of People's Liberation Army, he comes also from a very poor family. And when he was 17 years old, the life is too hard. He could not make a living at home. So he joined the Chinese Communist guerrilla, fighting against a corrupt nationalist government in 1947. So he learned how to read and write well in the military. So I want to share this with you. Education is very important. The Chinese believe everybody starts equal. How far you achieve is just depends on how hard you try. So that's a message I want to first get across to you. My brother, my sister, you can see, here's me when I was still a graduate student at the demonstration against Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989 in front of a Chinese embassy. And yes, I'm teaching at Rollins and taking students to China for field studies. My two kids take them to China. And here's my wife and I, we are doing cultural performance in local Chinese community. And that's my picture. I was students in Chinese university back in the early 80s. So that's me. Now let's talk about our class today. So for today's class, I want to do a sort of a discussions. You all should receive some questions, assignment from Dr. Kwong from last week, right? You should be able to access the image. That I have some questions. I hope that we can all share your learning experience together with me. So I was doing this because I'm interested in Chinese culture and how they are being perceived by Americans, how Chinese people, Chinese culture being portrayed in the US print media. This is on another project. I was studying the history of Chinese American in Florida. I see pictures that catch my interest. So I began to collecting materials. So it took me about 4 years to collect enough images. So I was able to get that published. So my research is basically today's presentation based on that research, which I will pass to you. That this book published this is This one's come out 2018. 2018, copyright 2018. So this is part of my sabbatical research project. The reason I show you is you need to, if you have some idea, if you have an interesting project in mind, make sure it will give you the motivation, give you the drive to pursue it, and don't give up. So eventually, you're going to see it come to bear fruit. So this is a book, and this is part of my sabbatical research. So when you work in academics, you will have this luxury. People pay you to do something that you feel passionate about it. If you can read Chinese, I would highly recommend you take a look at this one, because the image is larger and in colors. So much more pleasant reading experience. By the way, UCF should have this book. If you are interested, you can check out. But I would recommend you to look at the online electronic version, which also has color images. So that is a picture of the book cover. Let me put it in the presentation mode. Okay. You all should have the reading assignment. I don't need everybody to do an in-depth research. I just want to record your first impressions. What do you see? So the first one. What do you guys see this one? What do you see?
I see in the eastern, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see that there are representations basically of the continents,
Yeah.
which is something that the Europeans
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Anybody want to add? There's a lot of contents there. Very rich. Yes. Go ahead.
I see the person beaten down under the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely see there. Anything else?
Europe seems to be like on top, or like the main subject. The Eastern Hemisphere, America seems to be like the main triumphing subject of the Western.
Yes.
Similar to that, I think it's showing like the subjugation, or at least like the power structures in these hemispheres as well.
Mm-hmm.
These would be the people that still inhabit these occupied or colonized lands, and similarly to the Western Hemisphere as well.
Great. Anybody else want to add? Yes.
From more of a like artistic perspective, if you when you're looking at these images, your eyes are drawn upwards
Mm-hmm.
towards the more conquering presences, popping off what these two say in the European and American representations in both the Eastern and Western Hemisphere images.
Great. Great. I'm so glad that you have bring up from artistic perspective. Yes.
Sort of from another artistic perspective, they both involve a lot of travel. Like they have like animals that they're moving around with. Like on the left, camels and birds, and on the right they have horses and donkeys. So those are showing that.
Great. Yes.
We can see for the Western Hemisphere, like America is shown through the shield the lady has.
Mm-hmm.
In the Eastern Hemisphere, we see the flags of different nations, which I'm assuming are the European nations.
Yeah. Anybody else would like to add? Look at the question. Do you see any bias?
It's probably drawn by someone from Europe or the Americas.
Yeah. All the images I included is all American images, all published in American. So definitely American perspective. Okay. So this image is published on December 29th, 1855, from Bolo's Pictorial Drawings Room Companion. The artist is Boston-based, very famous artist called Hammond Billings. So this image presents a global outlook, how Americans see the world around the middle of the 19th century. Okay? So the Eastern Hemisphere, right here, you will see I need to see my glass. Sitting in the center of the Eastern Hemisphere and flanked by a black warrior from Africa and the Arabic princess from Asia as her honor guard. Europe was engraved as female sovereign of exquisite, holding a scepter of world power while wearing the crown of civilization. The lower part of the artist depicts the Crimean War, the war here. Nowadays, we have another Ukraine war, so that is what happened in the 19th century. And on the Western hemisphere, United States naturally occupied the leading position with its all-fine scenery, mighty river, and arduous pioneers, while the war with the native raging on. Indian warriors has already surrounded to the feet of a goddess of liberty and American gold eagle. So pretty much very Eurocentric, Western-centric. Did you see Asia? Did you see China? Did you see India? I see somebody shaking head. No? Well, little, because they are so marginal. Intoxicated Turks, Turkish, Ottoman Empire, West Asia. Snake charmer. That's the typical stereotype image of South Asians. And did you see this guy, little guy, holding a bamboo umbrella with the pagoda in the background? That's China. And according to the artist, according to the editors said on China, separated from the nearest point by 1,000 leagues of ocean, we are apt to look at it less as integral portions of common heritage of humanity than as another world. It is, in the common parlance, the old world, another planet at its world. It is distant landed that enchantment which belongs ever to the remote in space and time. So from an artist's perspective, China doesn't belong to this world. It's just so remote. It's totally different world, totally different civilization, so marginalized. That's how China was portrayed in the mid of 19th century. Okay, let's go on to the next. Okay, what do you guys see this one? A lot of image, a lot of message. Yeah. Anybody want to jump? Start? Yes.
Oh, I mean, obviously super racist.
That's
Black and Asian over there, and you see the caption is a white man's burden. And
yeah.
He's the reason that they're advancing, and it's ironic that ignorance, brutality, and superstition and barbarism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to say something? Yeah. I see you raise your hand.
I was just gonna say, I feel like it represents Western thinking of we need to uplift these barbarish societies towards our version of civilization.
Yes.
And I'm seeing literally as these things like ignorance, oppression, are these stepping stones, they believe literally to civilization because they're stepping, it's the stepping stone. That's ridiculous.
Yes. You want to add something?
To literally take the white man's burden translation, they literally, the way that the image is portrayed, literally is two white men carrying on their backs the sort of these people on their backs, and it's like, oh, we have to have the burden of lifting these countries while stepping over all these other problems.
Right.
And even then, civilization, they're uplifting these people to a better civilization because we're so much better.
Right. Who are those two white men?
Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
I don't know who the other one is.
Anybody help her? No?
I'm thinking my point was going to be about these two white.
Sure,
men
go ahead.
So the left one looks like the monopoly guy, kind of. He represents Western capitalism, I think, or the owner of capital, like the billionaires of the time, you know, wealthy capitalists, and then the quote unquote third world. It's like very interesting how this like capitalist spirit, along with I guess Western nationalism, American nationalism, like combines to create such like a toxic force. And it's crazy because the same view is like shared today too.
Yes.
I think the one on the left might be kind of like an Uncle Sam of Britain, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Zhang, which is a culture symbol for British Empire.
The way I'm looking at it is that if on the other hand it's like America, we see like Cuba, we see the Native Americans, and we see that kind of stuff. On the right, we see like China, we see India, and the Zulu, which makes me think that it's colonial power.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is that it's like two, like the big colonial powers are like the way they see themselves as like saving their like they're saving their like colonial like what's it called like wherever their colonial like whoever they're taking over in the colonial era, and they're basically being like the subjects.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
they're kind of just the way they're seeing it is that like we're trying to fix them, we're trying to like push them and make them better. But
Yes.
I think building off of that perspective, it's very interesting that you can see the artist's ignorance towards other cultures, and the fact that the people of the other cultures are depicted as wanting to get out of the basket, like they're trying to get out, or they're just not fully within the basket. So it brings up the concept of, is Western civilization really an ideal that everyone wants to move towards, or is that just the white man's perception of it, that they're forcing everyone in this basket to go towards proper civilization and to get them away from the dystopia of barbarism and oppression and ignorance that they've perpetuated, because from the white man's perspective, all these cultures engage in these things, but we don't. So it's okay if we bring them towards what we think is ideal.
Yes, definitely. This is white man's perception of world civilization, world order around turn of the 20th century. The artist named Victor Gillam. The poem is written by a well-known author. I don't know you guys heard name Rudyard Kipling. You all know him. You probably read or watch his Jungle Book. Who was a Indian-born British author and youngest Nobel Prize award winner in 1907 when he was awarded a Nobel Prize in Literature at age 41. So he was a known novelist, journalist, but more of an imperialist poet. He wrote this poem called White Man's Burden, which, let me just quote the first section. Took up the white man's burden, send forth the best yet breed. Go bind your son to exile, to serve your captive need, to wait in heaven harness, or flatter the folks and the wild, you newly called sullen peoples, half devil and half child. That's how strong that's his language. So this basically is demonstrate the imperialist attitude of the West and the prevailing paternalism toward other cultures at that time. So basically, Zhang and Uncle Sam carried the weight of white man's burden from the depths of the barbarism to the height of civilization, a shining city on the top of the hill. So in the basket of British jumbo that include Egypt, India, Sudan, Zulu, which is now known as South Africa, and in American's basket, Philippines, Cuba, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. So this poem was actually written in 1898 on the occasions of Hispanic American War. You know that American defeated Spain, and then take Hawaii, take Philippines as colony. So Kipling basically wrote this poem to encourage America to become imperial power, to save the rest of the world, to lead the whole universe to a better civilization. That was the viewpoint presented around a century ago. Okay, this one. What is your thought? What is your first impressions? Okay.
It's the way I'm looking at it is kind of like someone showing off. They're like, oh, look what I found. It's kind of like a show and tell.
Mm-hmm.
The text at the bottom says that America
Mhm.
is the woman, and that America is introducing what I believe to be China to the rest of the world, and saying that they're now as good as us.
Yeah. Anybody taking East Asian history? No? Have you ever heard this person named Anson Burlingame? No? Okay. Remember his name. He's the only person in the world history, I think. He served as the first residential ambassador of the United States in Beijing. So he's the first one stationed in Beijing. Not the first one lead the mission in Beijing, but he's the first one have the permanent residence in Beijing. And he have a very good working relationship with the Qing Empire. This guy, his name Princess Gong. He was the Minister of Foreign Affairs Office. So at end of his tenure, he was appointed by Princess Gong as a Chinese ambassador to the United States. So this is a very important historical event in the U.S.-China relations. So in 1868, he led a Chinese mission to the United States and negotiated a bilateral treaty called Burlingame Treaty. So that's basically depicting that historical events. That according to the artist, America being a young democracy, so they are the youngest introduced the oldest. China has a long history, so it's one of the oldest civilization. So the caption read, in the voice of America, Lady Columbia. Brothers and sisters, I am happy to present to you the oldest member of the family who deserve our better acquaintance. So this is basically symbolized the Chinese government around late 19th century began to abandon its complacency policy and began to actively engage with the rest of the world. Before that time, China had very ignorant. The word China in Chinese basically means center. We are central kingdom. In the 14th, 15th century, China actually had the largest fleet in the world. They sent the wood boat to the Southeast Asia, to India Ocean, all the way make to the East Africa. And they found there's no other civilizations that is on par with the Chinese civilization. So the emperor basically believed they are the center of the universe. We have everything we need. We don't need to deal with other barbarics. So actually, when Lord Macassar want to go to China to open up a trade port from UK, the Qianlong Emperor said, no, we don't want to deal with you guys. If you want to come here, pay tribute, we welcome you. But we don't want to see you as equal. So they actually have a big deal of a negotiation whether he should kneel down, kowtow to the emperor. So there's a lot of hassles. So that is finally China was forced to open. So that's one of the historical events forced China to face reality, to begin to deal with the other powers of the time. Okay, this one is not that complicated. This one is fairly simple. What are you reading? Yes.
Again, it feels like this image from just the way it's worded, bumboats, and the way that the people above are looking down on those in the boats. It's almost as if there's sort of a power structure in this image where these people above are able to look down at the people in the boats who are portrayed as somewhat like shirtless and not really, I don't want to say educated in a way, but also like just, that's just kind of how it's being portrayed in it, just the way that they're dressed and the way that the boats are kind of like, they almost live on the boat rather than like the people up there who are dressed really nicely and look very civilized in comparison.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add?
This kind of like echoes the theme of migration as well, because you see this type of imagery even today, and the way that it's depicted is also pretty similar. For people in a wealthy society who are again like peering down on those who again like cannot get there. They are stuck in this kind of limbo of migration.
Right. So all your reading is right on target. So this portrayed a image in Hong Kong Harbor. Back in those days, it would take maybe a month, fast steamboat, 2 weeks from United States to China or from Europe. So after a very long journey, the steamboat docked in the harbor. Before they allowed to get off the boat, the locals try to make a living. They will offer fresh fruit, dessert, but you definitely see the distance. You see the upper and high. They see the group dynamics. So Westerns on top of the steamboat look down, the locals raising the bamboo stick, try to offer a dessert, fresh bite. So that's realistically portrayed what happening back those days. Okay, this one. What is your reading?
Looks like a European military official,
Mm-hmm.
soldier, and then a local person behind
Mm-hmm.
the back. So just a representation of Western, like military colonialism.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add?
Is that like a chain, like a long chain?
Yes. It's,
Yeah, then essentially, maybe that's like a commander, and those are maybe enslaved.
right. Yes.
Also, the person at the bottom, I think their basket is like breaking.
Mm-hmm.
That could be like under the weight of the like stress or
Yeah.
Just that
Yeah.
they're so worn in comparison to the soldier.
Right. I don't know. Yes.
I feel like it could be a perception of the people in the background compared to how the European people depict them. Like, these people are lesser, but the only people you ever hear it from are the Europeans. You don't hear it from the people that actually live there. So even though this European soldier is essentially an outsider, he's depicted as the main dominant force of the painting, and the people that live there are the background of the painting.
Right. Right. You definitely see a very sharp contrast, right? Multiple contrast point. The front, the back, high, low, focused, and fuzzy for the Chinese labor in the back, and also rifles versus chains. So I don't know you guys, when you go to a Chinese restaurant, have you guys ever drink the Qingdao beer? One of the very famous beer that produced in China, actually German technology, because Qingdao is a German colony. It's Shandong Peninsula. So late 19th century, all the Western nations, they all want to colonize. So basically all the Africans already been divided. China became semi-colonial. So each country, they will take a province or several provinces, declare that their sphere of influence. So actually, Germany take Qingdao as a colony. So this is a Chinese prisoner, German sailor guardian prisoner at Jiaozhou, which is Qingdao. So this is one of the images that I selected. Here's another image. What do you see here? The caption read, "Where East and the West meet." This, yes.
Basically, what I'm seeing is that the West, which is represented by the large ship, what I'm seeing, basically covering the perception of the East, and like it's just overtaking it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you see author's bias?
You see the European ships compared to the
Junk boat. That's called a junk boat.
the junk boat.
Yeah, that name carry a lot of cultural implication as well. So junk boat in shadow, while the Western steamboat in brilliant sunshine. So again, very sharp contrast. This depicting Victoria Harbor in Hong Kong. Again, Victoria, named after Queen Victoria of UK. Hong Kong being a British colony since 1840s, when China was first opened, when China lost the first Opium War, 1842, 43. Okay, what do you see here? Yes.
A lot of snow.
Yeah.
Like shovelers
Mm-hmm.
snow off the trains.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some sort of tracks.
Yeah. Yes.
I see it as like maybe a depiction of like how the conditions were for like the Chinese who worked on the railroad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that it was unlivable conditions for them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is basically depicting the first wave of Chinese immigrants to the United States. They were first here during the Golden Rush in 1849. So after the gold mine exhausted, they were recruited to the railroad construction. Originally, there's a doubt because the Chinese people at that time mostly come from southern China, from Guangdong province, from where the Dr. Quang's hometown. Southern part, people similar to Vietnamese, they are kind of short skin, not like the people from Shandong. I'm tall guy from north. So there's a doubt whether Chinese can be reliable railroad construction workers. So then the contract said, let's give them a try. After all, they built a Great Wall 2,000 years ago. That's the largest man-made masonry work. So they hired, yes.
This is something I noticed, but I think it's interesting that in early depictions of Chinese people, in comparison to European and American people, they're often depicted as very old and very tired. So it's very easy to conquer them because, well, we're younger and we're more able to do things than them. So of course we're able to conquer them. But with Chinese people coming to America as capable workers, now they're being depicted more realistically as younger, able-bodied people.
Right. Definitely, as people get to know them, there are some much more realistic depictions for sure. So those Chinese immigrants, they never see snow in their life. They all live in the tropical, subtropical climate in southern China. But because of the contract, there's a competition, cross-continental railroad. If you build more, you will earn more. So even though during the winter time in the Nevada Sierra Mountain, 18 feet of snow. That's how deep the snow is. The snow stops. People still afford to work. So that is a realistic depiction of the conditions of working through the winters. A lot of people, basically, they died in their tent. They're not even living in the house. So basically, there's another saying that every those pieces of wood, there's another Chinese buried. A lot of people died. At its peak, 90% of workforce are the Chinese laborers. So at least 10,000 people working on the railroad construction, which made the connection ahead of a schedule, make a lot of money for the contractor. However, when the two lines join together, there's a golden nail ceremony. You may heard this. The two companies take a picture, the two locomotives facing each other. Not even single Chinese are pictured in that image. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay, what do you see here?
It's a winery
Mm-hmm.
in California.
Mm-hmm.
You can see all these folks just making wine.
Mm-hmm.
I forget that you have to stomp on the grapes.
Oh, yeah, to squeeze out the juice.
I forgot that's how wine was made.
Yeah.
I guess looking more closely at the people actually stomping on the grapes, it looks like people stomping on the grapes are more of Asian descent, so they're doing most of the work while the people at the bottom that are collecting all the wine seem to be profiting. At least that's, I can't see well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My glasses are not working really.
Yeah. You definitely see Chinese being portrayed here. You see this gentleman, definitely a Chinese. On top, you see the people wear straw hat. That's definitely the Chinese laborers. So After the railroad construction work is done, there's a great recession. So some of the Chinese are forced into agricultural labor. So they drain the land, especially the Sacramento River Delta region. They basically make California a basket for the food for the country. So they were one of the primary labor force in the late 19th century. Nowadays, all Mexicans doing the hard labor. Back in those days, Chinese have a major role in agriculture. Okay, this one has a lot of load message. What do you guys see? Anybody? Yes.
You see the white guy's body, white man's burden, and then you see a black guy
Mm-hmm.
that clearly under American or European influences.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the top, you see the savage in quotations there, savages that are still from Africa, and then basically it's going from the bottom of the European, the right way to do things, is slowly going farther away from that.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else want to add? Yes.
In the bottom right, you can see there's a man in a top hat, like clearly a more civilized per se man,
Mm-hmm.
with, I guess, a monkey on a leash, I think. And maybe that's a representation of like keeping the quote unquote lesser people at bay with, again, the whole white man's burden.
And it's in reference to Reconstruction
Yes,
policy.
yeah.
Of Congress, so domestic policy.
Right.
In America during that Reconstruction period.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the effects that it would have on Western society.
Right. The caption, difficult for you guys to read, is a Reconstruction policy of a Congress as illustrated in California. So this is actually a campaign poster for governor's election in 1867, depicting George Gorham, who was a Republican candidate for the governor of California. He was a Republican, very sympathetic toward minority right. He insisted that everybody should have equal right. So this is the campaign poster by Democrat Party back those days. So this, the message read, so this basically attacked Gorham's advocacy of voting rights for black and other minorities. In this satire, Brother Jonathan, that's him, symbolized American, hold his hand protectively over a glass ballot box while scolding Gorham. Young man, read history of your country and learn that this ballot box was dedicated to the white race alone. The load you are carrying will sink you in prediction where you belong, or my name is not Jonathan. So the Democrat Party back then said, this ballot box belonged to white men only. African Americans, Chinese immigrants, Native Americans, you don't belong here. You certainly do not have the right to vote. A lot of hatred, a lot of racism. That's what the reality is back in the 19th century. Okay, what do you guys see here? The caption says Chinese puzzle. You all remember Arabian Night, genie out of the bottle, right? So this caption said, with evil expression, the Chinese giant stand firmly on the American western coast while looking down at the stunning fisherman, a small Uncle Sam. So this image not only demonized the Chinese in America, but also implied that his presence will be detrimental to the future of the United States. So genie is out of the bottle. You cannot put it back. So so the caption read, the genie slowly rolling himself out of the box in the form of vapor. Soon assumed his proper position. The fisherman stood ghost on beholding the giant size of a demon he had liberated. Okay, what do you see here? Yeah.
This very stereotypically racially motivated picture of a supposed Asian person, kind of depicted as this massive figure coming to take over and essentially steal someone's jobs or take over like Western capitalism, something to be like feared.
Right, definitely to stir fear. So you see the evil expression on his face, and his hands is portrayed like animal claw, not a human hand, oversized. So indicate that coming man. That's the title. The American man monopoly. That's sort of in the broken English, try to satire the Chinese spoken language. Okay, what do you see this one? They're all published by this magazine called WASP, weekly satire magazine published in San Francisco. One of the, I think, the most popular, most widely read on the West Coast of the time.
It's saying that the Chinese immigrants that are coming in are bringing in morality and
Right.
other things. I can't read this from here.
Mm-hmm.
Other things into America.
Right. You all know the Statue of Liberty in the New York Harbor. So this is depicting a model after that. But instead of the Lady Liberty, the Chinese immigrants holding an opium pipe. His quills sort of like body of a snake. You see the rays of filth, immorality, disease, ruin to white labor. That's all the rays from his head. And you see the rat on the base of the statue. And in the harbor, there's more boats coming, indicate that there's more Chinese on the way. So we better be careful. We had to do something to stop it. Okay. Or foreign relations. So basically, this one, Chinese become synonymous with all the evil in America. In this dreadful image, a yellow jack watching in horror, Lady San Francisco is being viciously attacked by a horrendous blood-sucking vampire bat of Chinese leprosy. Waiting at the side are evil-looking Chinese man holding opium pipe and a smallpox devil with sinister smile on his face. So indicate stress imminent danger in American West. Try to provoke racial hatred toward the Chinese. The other one is called Chinese many hands. They can do a lot of things, but soulless. They do not believe God. They are evil. That's the strong message they try to convey to their readers. Okay, what do you see here? This is related to the, yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, before we wondered, I want to say that this is sort of a political cartoon depicting, like, kicking out Chinese immigrants from, quote unquote, kicking out Chinese immigrants, rejecting them from America because of assuming the time period is around the Red Scares.
Right.
Around where communist ideals were coming about, because I'm seeing it on the notice sign, so I'm assuming that's why they're like rejecting all of these.
It's not the Red Scare yet.
This is the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Exactly. 1882, the only immigration act that single out a ethnic group in the United States history, the dark chapter in the United States immigration history, which was finally repealed exactly 80 years ago, 1943, during the middle of World War II, when China and the United States become allies. So FDR finally repealed in December. So just next week they're going to celebrate the anniversary. Anybody else want? No? Okay. What do you see this one? This is a picture actually drawn by Thomas Nast, who's nicknamed Father American Cartoonist. So he's credited for drawing the elephant as a political symbol for the Republican Party. So he's one of the few artists in the 19th century take up the cause of Chinese immigrants. He feels it's wrong to exclude the Chinese because we in the United States, we believe fairness, we believe freedom and liberty for all. So in this picture, you see he draw a vertical line, good versus evil. And he uses the bulletin board carry a lot of message. If you zoom in, you're going to see a lot of those slogans. So here, he basically, the caption said, hands off. American, I cannot read that. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I'll find, let me move on. I noticed that we're going to run out of time. So the class ended 2:45, right? Okay, let me just skip this. Just go very briefly talking about why I'm doing this. I want to provide a visual documentation of the Chinese American perception of the Chinese people and the culture, and examine the dynamics of the cultural exchange between the two countries since 19th century, help people develop a better, a more comprehensive understanding between Chinese American people. That's the original intention of my project. So I try to limit to engravings, lithographic print, cartoons, Most of this come from newspapers, come from books, advertisement, you name it. But I try to exclude photos. I think that's a different project. I try to make it somewhat manageable. Time frame from first Opium War to 1911, which is the founding of Republic of China, the first republic in Asia. So that's a time frame for about 60 years. And also that's the time that the United States and China began to have a real large-scale engagement because of the gold rush, because of the Opium War, all arranged by subject. We already talked about this, This picture is also very interesting. This is the first American ambassador go visit China, the Beijing City Hall. The artist at that time was not allowed. He was not a member of the mission, so he only drew the picture based on other people's memory. So you can see it's not very accurate reflections. It look like people wear the robe from Byzantine Empire. And the architecture definitely nothing look like Chinese, more like a Muslim influence from Middle East. Emperor Daoguang, who was the last emperor who had real power. This guy here, a very important figure in Chinese history. He self-claimed he failed the national imperial examination. Then he picked up a booklet on Christianity. He was inspired. Then he self-claimed he's the younger brother of Jesus Christ. He started a movement called Heavenly Kingdom. And he started a rebellion that occupied several provinces in southern China, led to million people died and eventually being crushed down. And that person, Governor Liang Guang, who was very famous, the highest ranking official ever being captured during the Opium War, because he was known for 6 no's: not flee, not to surrender, not to negotiate. He knew he could not fight, but he wanted to demonstrate his loyalty to the emperor. So he wanted to go to London to plead his case to the queen. But eventually he was captured, and he died of self-hunger because he could not see the queen. So very controversial figure in Chinese history. This gentleman, Wang Qingfu, he's my hero. I dedicated my book to him. He's the first person using the phrase Chinese American. He feels that we are here, we are American, we just are Chinese American. So he actually challenged Dennis Kinnery for a duel. Dennis Kinnery is a workman's party who have the slogan "Chinese must go." So he challenged him. You can pick up Irish potato, Chinese chopstick, or a revolver. You choose. We all have to do. That guy chicken out. Never happened. So very remarkable person. Beginning of war, the Opium bombardment of Guangzhou. This is the second Opium War. I'll just go past this. Beijing City, the first William Ward, the first American mission to Beijing. Struck cold in Shandong. Before the oil was used to power the boat, coal was the main source of power. We had that one there. We talk about a couple of pictures here. China being semi-colonial the lot of colonies. So this is a British colony, German colony. So this is taking down the dragon boat in Shandong. Chinese being polytheist society, they believe multiple gods. So there's God of mercy, God of war, God of greens, who pick up different plans to make sure which one is suitable for humans. Panlong, who chiseled the universe, beginning of the universe, God of thunder, God of midwife, that you pray to her to have babies. Ghostbuster, he command 8,000 demons. The last one will be interest to you guys, God of literature. You pray to him, you will pass the exam, you will be number one in your class rank. Acrobat, fly kite, Chinese drama, dragon boat race, horse racing, opium den, and the gambling stand. The women's of China, and the last one is also very interesting. The lady was the wife of a tailor who made clothes for the Westerners. So he had sort of good income. So his wife faked to have his bound feet. If you have bound feet, it sort of symbolizes you don't need to work in the field. So it's a sort of a status symbol back those days. And those are the well-to-do family in the colony in Shanghai, probably in Well Road. First, hair shave, grabbing playthings, the 1-year-old. If you grab a pen, means you're going to grow up to become scholar. If you grab money, you're going to become a businessman. So that's the Chinese tradition. This is a very heartbreaking story. U.S. Cargo ship Norway carry a cargo of slave labor, basically. The people on the contract labor to the United States, or to this one's actually go to Cuba. So the cost per head is $80. And when they reach the destiny, each person was sold for $300. So the profit is very high. So they will pack many more into the deck, under the deck. And the terrible living condition led to uprising. So they were forced to seal the cabin, and then they set the ship on fire. Eventually the crew put the canvas on all the air duct to put down the fire. And people writing the ultimatum with the blood. They want to hijack the ship to Thailand to let them go. So eventually they gave up because there's no way to succeed. They actually, all the fresh water stayed under the dock. So the crew had to convert a small engine to make seawater into a steam water. So it's a very heartbreaking story. 80 people died during this incident. After this terrible event, United States passed the law forbidding any Americans getting involved in the slave trade. So signed by President Lincoln in 1862. So this is in 1857. Gold rush, we have that. Service industry. There's an anti-Chinese rally. when the railroad construction work is done, where the Chinese go? They go to the east, go to New York. Well, the African Americans, they face persecution in the south. They flee south. So there's also open call for labor working in the south, in the plantation. That's the arrival, the beginning of Asians in the United States. Rock Spring Massacre, one of the terrible, most dozens of people get killed. 1885 in Wyoming. Celebrating the Chinese New Year, you will see the fish, which symbolize abundance. Good wish, Chinese Chamber of Commerce, Chinese temple in San Francisco. Yeah, you can see the beginning of the image. It looked like the facial structure, sort of like a Westerners. Later on, they're much more accurate because they began to have that interactions. A lot of laundry work. There's one gentleman who working as a household servant, who later on, they are not allowed to marry, who gave all his savings to Columbia, started Columbia University's the East Asian program. Ding Long, that's his name. If you go to study to Columbia East Asia department, you can see all his history. And his employer was so moved by his generosity. He saved all his money, $12,000, all the way. He wanted people to study Chinese culture, Chinese history. So his employer, Carpentier, actually contributed another $200,000. That makes Columbia one of the best East Asian program in the United States. This is another very interesting story. Asin, which basically a name of symbolize the Chinese, hidden Chinese. This is a story by a very popular poem, Hart, that's his name. You can Google it. He's Jewish. He's not trying to depicting discriminate against Chinese, but his poem said that the Western miners, Billy Ray, cheating this card game, outsmarted by Chinese miner. But this poem sort of became the anti-Chinese slogan during the rallies of 19th century. We have that. I'll just pass this. WASP, a lot of a hatred message. And all this PowerPoint I already shared with Dr. Kwong. She can share with you guys. If you have any questions, you are welcome to contact me. So this all the images by Thomas Nast, who also have a reputation being presidential maker. He played a very important role during the presidential election in the late 19th century. So he's the one have the courage to support the cause of the Chinese. He feels this is wrong to discriminate against Chinese. And I like this picture. The lady asking why, ask the missionary, why I can go to your heaven, but I cannot go to your country. The minister replied, because there's no, in our country, in heaven, there's no labor union. There's no discriminations. So basically, the cultural exchange and understanding between the United States and China's long, complex process. The relationship of China with the United States had a far-reaching impact on the course of the country's modernization drive. Early Chinese immigrants subject to racial precautions in the United States, but they also make great contribution to the economic development and cultural diversity of the country. So there's a lot of talk about decoupling nowadays, but United States and China being the two most important country in the world today. So I think that a stable relationship is very, very important. That will become a cornerstone for the peace and development in the 21st century. That's my message. And there's the 2 books. Thank you so much. Well, have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday.